Conquer your fears. In this message, I want to share the passage from Matthew, chapter 14, verses 26 to 31, where Jesus and the Apostle Peter walk on the water. I would like to highlight the topic of fear, a constant in all of our lives. Have you ever wondered why we put alarms in cars and bars in our houses? Why do many people take unnecessary precautions? And why do we care so much about accumulating money? All of this is motivated by fear. Fear is a reality that affects many people today and in the past, even great biblical characters. The Apostle Peter, for example, was afraid when he was next to Jesus Christ. Let's read Matthew 14, chapters 26 to 31, where Jesus appears walking on waters stirred by the storm. The text says, "When they saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, 'It's a ghost,' and they screamed in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, 'Take courage. It is me. Do not be afraid.' 'Lord,' said Peter, 'if it is you, send me to meet you on the water.' 'Come,' replied Jesus. Then Peter got out of the boat, walked on the water and went towards Jesus. But when he noticed the wind, he was afraid and, beginning to sink, he cried out, 'Lord, save me.' Immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him. 'O you of little faith, why did you doubt?'" In this passage, after feeding the crowd with the miracle of the multiplication of bread, Jesus tells his disciples to follow in a boat. It was already night when Jesus came to meet them, walking on the water. The disciples, frightened, thought they saw a ghost. This is fear, so much so that they screamed. Who wouldn't have the same reaction? Jesus then tells them not to be afraid, because it was him. Even the apostles, who lived with Christ, felt afraid, including Peter, who was afraid right next to Jesus. Fear affects everyone. For some, the fear is excessive. Being afraid is not the problem, but when it dominates us, many problems arise. Fear can harm our intellectual development, efficiency in tasks and cause illness, insomnia and bitterness. It distorts our self-image and opens doors to negative influences. In Matthew 14 chapter 26, the disciples thought they saw a ghost. Fear makes us slaves to our nightmares and hallucinations, facilitating the action of evil. TV and the internet can be windows into this. Be careful what you allow into your home through these means. Another effect of fear is paralysis. It prevents us from living fully, from growing in relationships with others and with God. In Matthew 14, Peter walked on the water alongside Christ, but when he felt afraid, he began to sink. Fear disables us from being useful and active servants in the kingdom of God. We spend time looking at our conflicts and problems instead of making ourselves available to God. We need to overcome our fears. Here are 4 pieces of advice for overcoming fear. The first is to seek God. When a large army approached King Jehoshaphat, he sought God and won. This is the first and most important piece of advice: seek God in the Bible and in prayer. The second is to free yourself from past failures. Don't be a prisoner of your mistakes and failures. Rewrite your story. Many people let the past guide their lives, impoverishing their potential. See the past as a school, not a prison, and live seeking new experiences. The third piece of advice is to focus your attention on Christ. Christ is the way to the Father. In Matthew 14, chapter 31, Peter sank when he took his eyes off Jesus and focused on the storm. Give your fears to God and trust Him. Don't think about fear, think about Christ. Christ is the way, the truth and the life. Live by faith in God, not by His feelings. What is your fear today? Security, employment, motivation to live. Fear feeds on itself. Think about God and Jesus Christ, and live by faith. Jesus, as King of the Kingdom of God, can give you all this and more. God has a new life for you, beyond this world. Start living with Him today and you will see a new life emerge within you. Faith takes down giants, like David did with Goliath. The fourth and final piece of advice is to remember Jesus' promise in Matthew 28, chapter 20. He promised to be with us every day until the end. If Jesus is with us, there is no reason to fear. Therefore, seek God, free yourself from past failures and mistakes, focus on Jesus Christ, and remember His promise to be with us always. Follow this advice and say like the Apostle Paul in Galatians 2 chapter 20, "It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me." If you liked the message, subscribe to the channel and share it with more people. May God protect and keep you, and may His peace reach you wherever you are.